Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, The Future Trends for Digital Job Creation, sponsored by Adrian, Kenya. We are really excited to have each of you join this webinar. My name is Agnes Mudhoni, and I am the Director of Talent Partnerships at Andela, where I focus on running skills development programs across Africa that equip learners with employable technology skill sets and give them access to job opportunities. We have a great lineup of industry leaders and experts on this topic of digital job creation who have joined me today as panelists for this webinar. So let me go ahead and proceed to introduce them. We have Nelly Gyamfi. And Nelly, I hope I have said your name correctly, although I know you've already told me how to say it, so apologies if I have not said it correctly. But Nelly is the country director of Moringa School, which is a startup learning accelerator. Once again, congratulations, Nelly, on your appointment as country director. Nelly has spent her career, you're welcome. Nelly has spent her career working in different educational contexts with different demographics, ranging from toddlers to company executives. She's passionate about unlocking human potential through the provision of quality and effective educational experiences, and has spent the last 6 years building and growing programs and educational institutions to enable this. Nelly is particularly excited about the opportunity that technology presents for the future of work and is working with Moringa School to build talent and opportunities through transformative tech-based learning experiences. Welcome, Nelly, to this webinar.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And next we have Perminus Wainaina, who is an HR practitioner with extensive depth and breadth of experience in human resources and finance. In the last 7 years, he has worked as the CEO and managing partner at Corporate Staffing Services Limited, which is an HR consulting firm accredited by IHRM, where he manages a team of 25. In his capacity, he has consulted mainly for the private sector, focusing on HR areas like organizational review, HR audit, recruitment training, performance management. He is also a part-time lecturer at the Institute of the Human Resource Management for the certified HR consultant courses. Wonderful to have you on this webinar, and we're really looking forward to hearing your insights. Welcome, Perminus.
Thank you, Agnes, and nice to meet everyone.
And then last but certainly not least, we have Benson Gichuru, also goes by Benson Kinoti. Benson is the Developer Relations Project Manager at Google. Benson is a self-motivated tech professional who is passionate about transformations that are catalyzed by technology. Benson holds great experience, knowledge, and skills in various technologies and has designed and implemented transformative solutions across various African countries. His passion and knowledge have seen him work at leading organizations such as the Kenyan government, Microsoft, Intel Corporation, and now with Google, where he leads software developer trainings for Google technologies across Africa. In his own words, Benson says that we are lucky to be alive in an era where the power of technology is limitless, but luckier that we have every power to shape technology. I have worked with Benson personally, and I can definitely attest to his passion for technology and his relentless pursuit to unlocking potential across the continent. In his free time, you will catch Sir B, as he is known by many, listening to music and reading a book or writing software code. A very warm welcome to you, Benson.
Thank you, Agnes. Thank you all for having me.
You're welcome. All right, so during our discussion today, we are going to be talking about the growing need for digital and tech talent on the continent. Particularly over the last few months during the pandemic, we have seen an increasing number of organizations that are migrating their businesses online. So now more than ever, we definitely need these skill sets. It is widely known that Africa faces a digital skills gap. But the last few months have thrown into sharp focus the digital divide and the need to build digital skills to create a pathway for employment opportunities. It is estimated that 230 million jobs on the continent will require some level of digital skills by 2030. Now, much of that demand for digital skills will emanate from generic occupations across a broad range of tech and non-tech sectors, whether it is the Ethiopian farmer or Kenyan factory worker or Rwandan entrepreneur. Mastery of digital skills will increasingly be a determinant of Africa's success. So today, the panelists that we have here who are thought leaders and experts in this specific area will be responding to how we can democratize digital skill sets and what signals and trends they are seeing on the demand side. And so I'm going to start off with asking questions to the panelists who will then be responding to these questions. And then after that, then we will go ahead and open it to Q&A, where we'll then be able to hear some of the questions that our participants have. So to start off with, I'm going to be asking a question to Perminus and Benson. According to a 2018 WEF World Economic Forum report, in the next 2 years, there will be a net positive outlook on jobs amidst significant disruption. In your view, is this data point reflective of what we're seeing in Kenya? And what are some of the new jobs that are emerging that have not existed in the past? And so I'll maybe just start off with Benson and then move over to Perminus.
So you're right, the World Economic Forum report for 2018, I would say could not have been more accurate. But then we've since then seen reports that are reflective or give us the same type of thinking. And the latest of that I'd love to mention is the Africa Internet Economy report that Google launched yesterday in partnership with the International Finance Corporation. So the simple answer is yes. These data points are very, very reflective of what I see in Africa, and even in more specific, what I see in Kenya as well. And if I may add to that, they are definitely informed by a couple of factors. And these are factors such as the youthful human capital that we have, the penetration of internet that we have in the continent, and even in specific in Kenya, the innovative culture that we have in Kenya, and so on and so forth. So if I may quickly take you through the landscape of how I see a software developer ecosystem looking in Kenya. First off, in Africa, we have roughly 700,000 active software developers. And I'm speaking to software developers in this example because they are integral part of spurring change or bringing about innovation. So out of the 700,000 active software developers, we have 60,000 of them, based here in Kenya, for example. And an average profile of a software developer would be someone in their mid-20s in their age, and passionately working every day to solve a challenge for our own challenge, to give us a solution for our own challenges here in Kenya. So that in itself is an integral ingredient that shows that there's going to be significant disruption in Kenya, in the south.
Great, thank you for that question, Agnes. However, I don't share I'm not very optimistic in terms of the figures that have been shared, and mainly because for me, I'm looking at it at a broader level, the economic, from the broader macroeconomic level. I want to share with you some numbers. Last year, according to the Ministry of Finance here in Kenya, there were only 843,000 jobs which were created. And out of those, the ones which were created in the formal sector accounted to only 75,000. Then when you look at the unemployed youths who are between 15 to 34 years, we are talking about more than 2.3 million unemployed youth. So you find most of the people currently entering the labor market, they are absorbed in the informal sector. And the informal sector is a sector which is characterized by irregular income stream. There's no stability, and that's a big challenge, especially for the youth. And also considering also the exodus of the youth, from the rural areas to the cities. So that goes to further strain the urban labor market. However, that's not to say that it's all industries which are affected. No, not at all. If you look at the ICT industry, it's definitely doing well. So I believe that's where Benson could be coming from. And yeah, so there's some growth sectors, but in terms of the economy as a whole, it's really a depressed market. And I'm not looking at these improving in the next 2 to 3 years. COVID hasn't made things any simpler. Before COVID, here at corporate staffing, we'll be able to recruit for between 90 to 120 positions a month. But now that has dropped by 50%. So as of today, our statistics here at corporate staffing for the month of October, we only had 45 recruitments against, 90 to 120 before COVID. So that's what we are working with currently. In terms of making sure that we create jobs for the youth, opportunities, I think there are some initiatives that we've seen government taking up. Some of these initiatives include investing in the infrastructure. We have the SGR. There's all these plans even to modernize Nairobi city, ease of access for transport. Then there's also that plan or idea of improving the business climate. Someone can come and register their business, and within 2 or 3 days, they're able to have in terms of the legal documentation, they're able to have something to showcase. But I think what you really change is supporting the SMEs. That will really spur the economy in terms of job creation. In terms of the emerging jobs, I'll reference back to the data we have at corporate staffing. For the last 3 years, these are the jobs that I would say are in the demand, especially, and all of them they're technology driven. Case in point, we have software engineer, application developer, digital marketers, business analysts, security analyst, and jobs to do with AI. The only jobs which are really not technology driven would be the area of agribusiness. That's the outlier I've seen in terms of new growth opportunities. So yes, for some sectors, there's clearly the numbers do speak to the growth, and that's where ICT would fall in. But in terms of the overall economy, we are not yet out of the woods.
From the perspective that I am seeing this from is when we talk of new roles and emerging roles in the future, we're talking about not necessarily the jobs that you will formally get employed, but also considering the innovators who are out there, innovating not specifically for ICT, but across all sectors. And I'm happy that Perminus has mentioned tech jobs such as AI specialists. We're also seeing a lot of DevOps engineers, digital marketers have come up. In different models, we are now talking of talent acquisition specialists. We're talking about customer success specialists spanning across. But when you look at the various technologies that are right now currently being introduced in the country and across Africa, such as AI, such as that's artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning, virtual reality, where we have some young guys doing some fantastic work with virtual reality, augmented reality, gaming. And most of these developers and designers are not only developing for our market, but even for the outside market. And most of the people who are working with data, for example, are not only employed to work with data within Kenya, but across different, different countries in the continent. So I come from a school of thought where I see the innovations and the specializations that are currently taking place within IT, opening up jobs not only for IT, as Perminus has mentioned, but across other sectors. You remember when M-Pesa started, it was a good innovation, came in place, but now we're talking about our whole ecosystem of M-Pesa agents. Now we have Twiga, for example, relating to agri, what is mentioned yet again. Twiga Foods that has come up with a disruptor in the agro in the agrotech, but most jobs are actually not quantifiable to office jobs. We have people who are sorting foods in different factories and so on and so forth. Speaking to COVID situation as we are right now, look at what Copia is doing, distributing retail stuff. Look at Glovo, for example. Have we quantified the number of self-employed motorcycle riders? So that's the type of impact that we might not be able to quantify as office work, but looking at what IT has spurred or initiated, we see a lot of trickle-down effect and a lot of roles coming up. So that's what I have from my side.
Okay, so really great commentary and points here shared by both Perminus and Benson. I think what I'm hearing is a number of key points that are coming up. Number one is that, yes, there are some new jobs that are coming up in the spaces of AI, virtual reality. So these are some new jobs that are coming up that may not have been there previously. The question then becomes, who is doing the training or conducting the training? How many specialists do we have? We also have the reality that there's going to be a collective joint effort that is required to spur growth in the formal sector and also particularly in the informal sector. To Perminus' point, you're right, we've seen a number of job losses during this COVID period. So the number of job opportunities have declined. However, this could present an opportunity for us to begin to start seeing how we could continue to connect some of the tech talent that we have in Kenya with some of the global opportunities that exist today. And so over to Nelly and Perminus. The next question is, what job types do you think will decline or have already begun to decline in number? What are some of the things that you're seeing? And then how can some of the young people begin to now start thinking about their careers differently so that they can be able to position themselves well for opportunities?
Thank you so much, Agnes. So one of the things that we like to do as Moringa is we like to look at the future and then try and make sure that our curriculum is market aligned. And when you look at trends around what's happening in the world, you realize that a lot of the jobs that will be declining as we think about the fourth industrial revolution are ones that are, for lack of, it's not the best English word, but what you'd call it very routine, high volume tasks, right? What some people may call pattern, right? So to give a couple of examples, let's look at the innovations that are coming up, because these give you a sense of where the future is going. So for example, Amazon grocery stores, right, have debuted these smart carts where the cart is able to calculate how much someone owes, and with special lanes, people are able to check out without cashiers, right? Think about self-driving cars, right? You could foresee a situation where not too long in the future, we have self-driving matatus in Kenya. So you think about things like customer service even, right? With the advent of bots, Microsoft Works, right? The ability for tech to kind of help with customer care, right? Because you have these kind of intelligence technology now, where you're talking to the tech, but you don't even realize that you're talking to the tech, right? Think about robotic waiters, for example, right? I think even now, when you look at some of the restaurants in Asia, for example, customers are able to select what they want based on how the restaurant is designed without the necessity of waiters coming in. So a lot of the jobs that will be in decline, think about jobs that are very pattern driven. So the step 1, step 2, step 3, collect the order, put the order in, bring the order to the table, bring the check, go pay for the check. These are all things that can be programmed, and especially with the advent of huge technologies that we're seeing with the fourth industrial revolution, jobs, ideally you want people to start moving away from them and into more jobs that require things that are harder for machines to create, right? So thinking about things like creativity, design thinking, creative problem solving, you want people to begin to develop those so that the more routine tasks are left to the technology that's being built.
Technology is a great enabler, but also it has brought on its own challenges, and the jobs, as Nelly has mentioned, the jobs where you act just as a middle person without really adding much value, those are the jobs in decline. I'm looking back at corporate staffing. We are 10 years in the market, and the first 3-4 years, we get a lot of requests from the real estate industry, from the hospitality, and specifically the tours and travel agents. But nowadays, especially in the last 2 years, you don't find that happening. Case in point, if it's real estate, I'll just have to go online. I Google for a property in Kideleshwa or whatever. I look at the pricing, I look at the amenities, and if it's something that suits me, we organize for a tour on a Saturday. So as opposed to when you had to go through a real estate agent who has to show you around the houses, and you probably pay something and you don't even come out with what you're looking for. So I would say yes, the jobs which are in decline, as Nelly has mentioned, is where these are routine jobs where you're really not adding a lot of value. So there's definitely no future for that. Even things like simple customer service. I have clients who we are supporting in that area where they don't hire their own customer service because the nature of their business does not require a walk-in. So what we do, they outsource to us. We have a customer service and we channel all the calls to our office, and we can be able to support 4 or 5 offices. So I think that's the future, and for professionals, it's just to align yourself with what is happening and make sure you have the relevant tech skills, so that you're not declared obsolete by technology.
So great responses. I think what's really coming out clearly is that there's a reduction in jobs that are routine. Like Perminus also pointed out, like the middleman is sort of like being eliminated through technology, and we're beginning to see the rise of machine learning, AI type of jobs that are now on the rise. And so this sort of like dovetails really well to this question, which is to Nelly. So since we're seeing the rise of more creative thinking, design thinking, who is conducting that sort of training? And how is that training being made more accessible, more affordable to our youth here on the continent?
Great question, Agnes. Thank you. So shameless plug here. Schools like Moringa School are offering trainings in such subjects. So maybe I can tell you a little bit about, what we do. So I think that when a lot of people hear about the 4th Industrial Revolution, they hear about all of these new skills that are coming up. There's a certain fear. Do I need to go back to school, go do a 4-7-year degree? That sort of thing. You don't necessarily need to do that. It's an option if you want to, but then there are also the rise of alternate education options like boot camps, right? So you think about Moringa School, for example, being one of them, where you can quickly accelerate in the skills that you need. So for us, we train people full-time within 6 months. You graduate as a junior software developer or a data scientist. So apart from individual students opting into bootcamp training, you find that corporates are also partnering with educational institutions to upskill their workers, right? I think one of the great things you notice about the Kenyan markets is that the businesses are aware that change is coming. and they are beginning to prepare for it now. So, for example, we've partnered with people like companies like Safaricom, Airtel, to upskill their people in data science, to upskill their people in DevOps, in software development. So the wave is coming, businesses are aware, and they are partnering with these educational institutions. So I would say boot camps are a great option for short-term, quick upskilling. Universities are also great. They have great programs that you can use. I know that many students who come to us actually start out learning on YouTube, right? The benefit of technology. So they actually start out learning from YouTube. They're like, okay, am I interested in data science? Am I interested in software development? So they watch a couple of videos, they try a couple of things out, and they're like, okay, I'm a software developer, so now I'm ready to invest the time and the resources in a 6-month learning program to actually refine my skills in a professional way. So I'd say that there are options out there. It's about figuring out what works best for you, either through your company's personal development, you yourself opting into boot camps or university programs. And as I said, Moringa is a great option for you. Back to you, Agnes.
Thank you, Nelly. I think also I'd love to also hear from Benson, because I know with Google, you're doing a whole lot in terms of training young Africans. What are some of the things that you're doing, if you could share with all of us here, and how are you making it more affordable and accessible for young people to learn some of these skill sets for the new future of jobs?
Thank you, Agnes. So you're right. So Google has invested a lot in ensuring that we have proper skills, not only skills, but proper skills for Africa at large, and where Kenya is also a big beneficiary. And picking from where Nelly has left, Moringa School is being very innovative in terms of bringing the new skills into our learners, and in a very non-traditional way, if I may put it like that, so that we have learners getting on board, getting to know what is relevant, and preparing them for the job, for the market. And picking from there, we wanted to scale the type of training that Moringa is doing before even handing over learners to them. And Google, 3 years back, Google came up with a commitment of training 100,000 developers across Africa. And the only way we were able to do that is, of course, partnering with Andela and Pluralsight. Agnes, you've been part of the leadership in this program. And we came up with the Google Africa Developer Scholarship, which is ideally our 6 months developer scholarship program that will enable us achieve that particular goal. We are at the half mark, 50,000 learners at the moment. This is, as I mentioned, an annual 6 months scholarship that trains learners on Android, mobile web, and cloud technologies. However, moving forward, as we have new techs coming on board, we look forward to partnering with thought leaders across this region. People like the Advanced Institute of Technology. How do we set up maybe ML? How do we set up gaming? How do we set up such facilities for people to learn? It is worth to note that if you look at the training landscape for developers across Africa, 33% of learners are taught that in universities, and that 1% are self-taught. And of course, now the rest will go to on-job learning and the rest of it. So this shows how impactful it is for us to have programs or innovative programs that we can partner as private sector, also inviting government and bringing relevant skills to learners so that they are able to be job ready and making them, of course, globally competitive.
So in terms of COVID, definitely there are some sectors which have been greatly affected. And the sectors I'm talking about is the hospitality and the education sector, and even the build environment. Here we're talking about the architectures and the engineers. There we are not seeing many opportunities, and I don't think the situation will change in the near future. Probably give it another 12 months. In terms of the industries which are doing well, I would say in a digital-based business, there's a lot of potential there. Agribusiness, I had mentioned about it, and I like what Kinoti said. Technology is really a great enabler. You find nowadays young people are venturing into agribusiness. Why? Because now there's availability of information. You can be able to know where to market your goods. You can be able to know the pricing, because the middle person has been removed in a way. And that's why even if you go to Facebook, you'll see people posting, young people really being very proud of their work, you know, and that's not something which was there a decade ago. The other industry which is doing well is I would say the health and safety industry. It's a no-brainer considering where we are. In terms of really disruption, there's something I want to highlight in terms of the education sector. 5 years back, if you came for an interview and you had an online certificate, employers wouldn't really trust that. But we found now employers, maybe because of the high number of graduates and employers are not so sure of the skill set, now employers are more keen on the hands-on skills as opposed to just a mere certificate, as opposed to just showcasing that you have this qualification. So having hands-on practical skill, that's something really key. And that is why you are finding institutions like Google. I'm now advertising for Benson. There's a course, I don't know whether it's a course or a training that they offer, digital skills for Africa or something like that. And you'll find employers insisting on that. Yes, someone has gone through a 4-year course at the University of Nairobi, but still employers, you ask them, oh, have you undertaken this online course? Why? Because they trust that if you've gone through Google, you're basically familiar with the best practices in the industry. So that's something that I would really encourage for the ones who are listening, is that work on building your skills, practical hands-on skills. It really doesn't matter whether you get them through your traditional classroom setup or it's through YouTube or an online class that takes you 1 or 2 hours. Employers are really interested with the skills, the hands-on skills. However, also don't forget the aspect of the soft skills. Ultimately, like we said, yes, technology can only take us far. So skills like emotional intelligence, personal branding, think about leadership skills, very good communication skills, those will still come in handy. So the technical skills will open the doors for you. However, for the next level, whether it's a supervisory position or even if you're thinking of being self-employed, the soft skills will really come in handy.
Thank you, Perminus. These are really great insights around the industries that are doing well and what some people can do to begin to prepare themselves. All right, over to you, Benson. I know you've already talked about it, and it seems like clearly the market is already saying that, you know, they prefer to see you know, young talent with certifications that are coming from Google, and I'm sure also from Moringa as well. So we've seen that the government and the private sector are spearheading initiatives like Ajira that give access to training and dignified jobs. Are there other initiatives that you've seen that can be modeled in increasing the availability and linkages to jobs?
Absolutely. So let me start by stating that I think the future is in collaborations between government, startups, private sector, corporates, if we want to make a leapfrog in terms of skills development for Kenya and for Africa at large. Having said that, I think some of the case studies that I would take a quick peek at, starting with what Perminus has mentioned, the Google Digital Skills for Africa. We made a commitment of scaling up 1 million people with digital skills across Africa It looks like an ambitious, very ambitious plan, but trust me, we are on course. And I'm happy that there's a lot of traction, because these are courses that would not only necessarily focus on advanced tech skills, but will enable the normal day-to-day operations of a mama mboga to know how to, go about computing, do their spreadsheets, go online and maybe source their products and so on and so forth. Of course, I would definitely like to highlight the Google Africa Developer Scholarship that I've previously mentioned, a very, very insightful program that we've been running for the last 2 years. We're in the middle of it now. We are just concluding cohort number 2. Next year, we'll be opening up more applications to at least 50,000 learners, and hoping to see 30,000 learners skilled up with tech skills in the areas of mobile web in Android, mobile application development in Android, web, tech, and cloud as well. And we're also introducing a machine learning track for next year. Quickly, Agnes, I love what the government has done with the presidential digital internship, for example, as a program, where we are able to tap into the skills that are within our youth or our young learners and presenting them with opportunities. Because at the back of it all, we need to also talk about opportunities, as you've mentioned. I know Andela is doing a fantastic work with the marketplace in terms of placement. The Ringa School as well, I've seen a lot of initiatives that they have done in terms of talking to the demand side and telling them, hey, look, these are the type of skills that we are developing. Probably you guys need to consider. I love what Perminus has mentioned, that nowadays the new normal is online learning, online certificates. They are really highly appreciated, and we've made that advancement away from the brick and mortar, having to sit down for 4 years, for example, to get a particular skill for you to get hired. So those are some of the highlights. We have fantastic initiatives that are coming on board with people who are bold enough to make training moves in advanced technologies. I mentioned the Africa Center for Advanced Technology. I know what they're doing in terms of even digital wellness, training in terms of digital wellness. And their training is not only based to people who are using tech, but even for parents, for example, as our kids are home. Do parents know about online safety and so on and so forth? So there are a couple of case studies that we can learn from, but ideally I'm really happy that we have a lot of collaboration between government, private sector, corporate, and even startup environment, especially in Kenya. Thank you.
Great, and I like what you said about future is definitely in collaboration. It requires joint effort, and we're proud as Andela to be partnering with Google to run the Google Africa Developer Scholarship Program. Any last parting shots from any of the from the panelists before we move on to our Q&A section?
Sure. I think one of the key takeaways, because I know that some of the people in the audience are youth who are, coming to figure out what should I do with the rest of my life. I'd say, as we look towards the future, one of the things you'd realize is that we're going to be moving beyond basic digital skills, right, and moving towards more advanced digital skills. It's obviously going to take a bit of time for that transition to happen. So we do have a bit of time to prepare ourselves as an economy, as a country, as people. But it is a wave that is coming, and it's very important to tap into what is going on, right? So think about things like big data, cloud computing. Think about software development, because even as we talk about robotics, I know that can sound a bit scary, but human beings are needed to program what the robots do, right? So yes, definitely acquire the basic digital skills, which are great for the short to medium term, but in the long term, you're going to be seeing more of a shift towards advanced digital skills. So as much as you can position yourself there, please do so. So that would be the parting shot. Yeah.
For me, the beauty of digital skills is that they are not just relevant for you to be employed. you can become self-employed. For example, I know of several professions who, after looking for a job and they didn't get one, they opted for self-employment in the area of digital marketing. And some of them, they are just starting at the basic level. For example, helping clients with search engine optimization, going through Google courses, and they help clients to advertise online. So as opposed to the traditional, skills where if you're an accountant, you definitely have to wait for a formal job. The beauty of digital skills is the opportunities are endless. It just depends on you.
I totally concur with what Nelly and Perminus have mentioned. From my side, I think it's all about challenging yourself. We are at a stage or an age where in Kenya, we have a lot of opportunities in terms of tech startups, people building their own initiatives. We have an ecosystem that has been built around skills transfer, advanced and necessary skills transfer. Moringa School, for example, where instead of the traditional way of fighting your way through computer science class, you're able to sit down and learn what is necessary for you to probably start your own solutions or your own startups. So I would advise anyone who's within this call, who feels that they're within that line where they want to go tech to sort the helps of the likes of Moringa, who in training, get to know what's happening. We have a very advanced developer ecosystem that is willing to support each other. We have the Google developer groups spread across almost every part of this country. And we would really love to see more and more people plugging and learning and coming up with solutions that will enable us to spur disruptions in Kenya. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you to each of you for all of your responses, which have been really valuable. All right, so moving on to questions. And so I would ask any of the audience right here, please proceed to post your questions so that you get a chance to hear from the panelists who are here. We do have one question from Chesire, which is, the question is, I have heard of machine learning, AI, and robotics. What is the position of 5G and IoT in Kenya as at now? Any working innovations as examples? So I think this one I'll hand it over to Benson and also to Perminus, and even to Nelly if you have any examples that you want to cite here. So over to you, Benson.
Thanks. I would not know of any 5G initiatives that we've launched right now. Again, this is from a personal point of view, not representative of Google at any point. But regarding ML, there's a lot that is happening in Kenya and across Africa. So we are at a stage where, and Nelly will probably attest to this, where we are learning more about the new trends that are coming on board. We have seen people creating solutions to, for example, enable us identify the type of cough that you have. We have such solutions out there in the market. The African startup is well led. Kenya is very advanced in terms of startups and innovations that are there. Most of them are using ML. We've seen machine learning in terms of helping us sort what products go where, what crops are ideally have which disease or infection, and there's a lot that is coming. However, it's a growing phase. We have AI and ML quite fresh in Africa and quite fresh in Kenya, but people are actually making bold moves and learning more. What we are doing as Google at this point is trying to enable you to learn more in those sectors. For example, introducing you to TensorFlow and supporting you to learn TensorFlow so that you're able to develop more solutions using machine learning.
Similar to Benson, I haven't really heard anything around IoT in Kenya, but I know that for 5G, I was reading some news articles earlier on in the year. They mentioned that the government was sourcing for funding. The Kenyan government was university was sourcing for funding to start building out their architecture for 5G. So I think that there's work that's going on there to prepare the country for it. There's also been Business News Daily also mentioned around some efforts from the telcos. I think Safaricom in particular, doing a bit of trials to see. So I think that there's work being done, especially on the 5G end, to ensure that the infrastructure is ready, and then also that we are able to take advantage of it once it hits. For IoT, I haven't really heard anything about it per se. I know that's not helpful, but for 5G, there's work that's going on to set the foundation.
All right. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. And so we have now come to the end of our webinar and discussion. I want to thank the audience for your engagement here. And on behalf of Adrian, Kenya, and the participants, I also want to extend my deep gratitude to the panelists, Benson, Nelly, and Perminus, for your thoughtful insights on this topic. It has really, really been valuable. I know I've learned quite a bit here, and I'm sure the audience have also learned a lot, and they'll be able to benefit from it. So to all of you, thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Goodbye.